Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. Today's video is all about tattoos. We discussed 10 do's and don'ts, where it's worth to get one, the history about tattoos, new ink technology that makes it easier to remove tattoos, and anything else you want to know so you end up with something that you don't regret down the line. It's always good to make some considerations before you get inked yourself. Depending on your location and culture, tattoos can be perceived as anything from a mark of high status all the way to a symbol of a criminal. Because of that, it makes sense to consider a few things before getting inked yourself. Also, if you have tattoos or you're considering getting one and you've talked about it with friends, you've probably gotten a lot of advice, often unsolicited, no matter if you asked for it or not. At the end of the day, the big question is, should you get a tattoo or not? And while we can't answer that question for you, we can definitely provide you with some insights that help you reach a conclusion that makes sense for you. So first, let's briefly look into the historical aspects of tattoos. Archaeological evidence suggests that tattoos have pretty much been around since the dawn of mankind. As such, it's one of the oldest forms of personal style that exists, and a lot older than clothes, for example. Historically, tattoos had three principal meanings. One was a simple decoration, two was an indication of social status, and three was kind of a talisman because tattoos were supposed to have healing properties and were good for the body and soul. The culture that is probably most widely associated with tattoos is the Maori of Polynesia. In fact, the word tattoo originates from a Maori word tatau, which means as much as to strike. Maori culture incorporates several rituals and rites of passage, especially for young men, that all evolved around tattoos. The Maori also practice a related art form, which is called ta moko, which includes carving of the skin, which leaves a slight texture once it's healed. You've probably heard of tattoos being very popular among sailors, and it was in fact the Maori influence that led to that popularity among them. Now, for sailors, tattoos had very specific meanings. A turtle was a sign of having crossed the equator, whereas an anchor would mean that you crossed the Atlantic, and so forth. Historically, sailors often had a reputation for being rough around the edges and sometimes even violent. The popularity of tattoos with seafarers secured a societal stigma around tattoos being only for people at the fringes of society. For example, the practice of being tattoos was completely outlawed in Japan in the 19th century. In fact, it remained outlawed until the mid-20th century. Of course, there it was directly connected to the popularity of tattoos with the Yakuza, which was Japan's organized crime syndicate. While tattooing has surged in popularity in Europe and in the US, particularly with millennials, there are others, oftentimes older people in society, who still associate a certain taboo with tattoos and associate it with prison life or gang culture. That being said, with more and more people having at least one tattoo, that stigma is slowly but surely fading. So what are the things to keep in mind before you get a tattoo? Ultimately, no matter if you like it or not, or how well it's done, people will always see it and judge you for it. As I said many times before, in an ideal world, people shouldn't judge you by your outward appearance, but they subconsciously do, and there's nothing you can do about that. On a more practical note, consider exactly where you want to place your tattoo, because chances are that there might come a time, even if you think to the contrary right now, where you want to hide your tattoo. Just think about meeting the conservative parents of your significant other for the first time, or maybe at a job interview at a white-collar law firm. We believe that as a gentleman of classic style, you should probably stay clear of tattoos on your hands, your neck area, or your face, because it's easily visible most of the time. No matter how much you like the tattoo design right now, there's always a potential for regret. And to learn more about that firsthand, please check out these videos here from Aaron Marino over at Alpha M. He had tattoos that he regretted and he had them removed. Overall, if you decide to get a tattoo, I think it's really great if there's a story behind it and some meaning. So rather than picking something out from a menu, come up with something that really mean something to you, whether it's your children or a deceased sibling, and create a tattoo that speaks to you in a way that you can look at it for years to come without changing your mind. Of course, if the desired tattoo bears a resemblance or signifies a belonging to certain groups, such as a military unit, you definitely talk to your peers first whether it's okay to do so, because you never want to give off the impression as being part of something that you're actually not. Now, once you've decided on the design, it's best to keep the design with you for 6 months to a year. And if after that time period you still like it and you still want it, it's probably time to get a tattoo and you won't change your mind about it anytime soon. In other words, if you're in a hurry to get a tattoo, you're likely not in the right mindset to get it at this point in time. That being said, there have been advancements in the ink technology in recent years. Some New York University students came up with ink that actually can fade automatically after, I think, 3 months, 6 months, and a year. Alternatively, the tattoo can also be removed with a special solution by your local tattoo artist, and no lasering is necessary. On that note, lasering away a tattoo doesn't always work 100%, so it pays to really think about it and not just rely on being able to get rid of it after the fact. Alright, now that you've decided on the design, what should you expect? First of all, there should be a good vibe between the tattoo artist and you, so everything is clear and there's a good level of communication. First, the artist will apply a stencil to make sure you have the size as well as the angle exactly right. The first needlework will be the outline, which is done with a loaded tattoo gun and a liner needle. Because this liner needle covers the smallest surface amount, you will likely have the most pain at this stage of your tattoo process. After the artist is done with the liner needle, he'll probably rinse your tattoo area and will then use broader needles to add shades to your tattoo. Once your tattoo is completely inked, it will be soaped and washed, and you'll get a sterile bandage on top of it. Definitely expect some slight bleeding during and after the process. Before settling on a tattoo studio, I suggest to read some reviews, maybe talk to friends who had a good experience, and also read up on the latest technology of inks in the tattooing process, because there are these modern inks and you can learn more about that in our full-fledged guide on the website here. Alright, now it's time for the tattoos do's and don'ts. 1. Study up on your design and really think about what you want. Get inspired by different tattoos so you end up with something you truly love. 2. Do go to a clean, reputable tattoo parlor, otherwise you may end up with something that looks really, really terrible. It goes without saying that it should have several sanitary measures to guarantee safe procedures. For example, that means the artist should wear gloves and the needles should be sanitary and taken out of the package in front of the customer. Furthermore, different artists have different areas of tattoo expertise, and you should try to find the perfect match for your design. 3. Do drink plenty of water the night before you get the tattoo, because you don't want your skin to reject the ink because you're dehydrated. 4. Do try to remain as still as possible in the chair, otherwise the artist might get frustrated and it will hurt you more. Do expect your tattoo to cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000 for a small one, and of course a lot more for bigger all-body tattoos. Remember, you're essentially hiring an artist to create a piece of art, and you shouldn't try to lowball him and instead give him a good tip. A common phrase in the industry states, good tattoos aren't cheap and cheap tattoos aren't good. Because your body's immune system naturally attacks the tattoo, it will fade over time, and so you may have to go in for touch-ups, and because of that it pays to have that good long-term relationships, which is helped by tips. 6. Do follow the aftercare instructions to the T, otherwise you may end up with a disfigured tattoo or even worse, an infection. The exact healing time can vary from person to person, but in general it takes about 2 weeks. You should definitely wait that long before you expose a tattoo to sun, salt water, or other abrasive elements. What about the tattoo don'ts? Well, first of all, don't put a tattoo on your neck, your hands, or your face. That way it'll always be easy for you to look professional, you can have business wear, and you can go about your own business without people bugging you about your tattoo. Secondly, don't tattoo potentially sensitive areas. You know what I mean. Don't tattoo your foot soles. 3. Don't get a tattoo under the influence of alcohol, other drugs, or peer pressure. It's simply not worth it. Also think about it this way. Just like nobody should be able to talk you out of getting a tattoo, nobody should be able to talk you into it. It's your decision and your decision alone. Don't get a tattoo to impress people, to get a certain standing, or to be perceived as a badass, or maybe even to commemorate a relationship. Why? According to a 2017 study from Poland, tattoos don't make you any more or less attractive to women in general. While some women do consider men with tattoos to be healthier and more masculine, that same group of women also thinks that those people are not as nurturing in a relationship or partnership. Getting a tattoo for your romantic partner may be tricky because the relationship may end, but a tattoo will remain. Of course, if you want a tattoo with your children's names, that's different because they will always remain your children. So in conclusion, tattoos are one of the oldest art forms of personal self-expression in terms of style, and you should choose them wisely so they reflect your personal style. Don't let others or substances pressure you into it or out of it. And it's important for you to do your homework so you end up with something that you're proud of. Do you have any tattoos? What are your experiences? Please share with us in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, hit that little bell so stuff like this comes right to your inbox. In today's video, I'm wearing a rather casual combination of a dress shirt which covers off my big ass tattoo on my back. Just kidding, I don't have any tattoos at this point. I'm wearing a pair of dark blue denim jeans that are just slightly tapered because I wear them with boots, and I find that too much of a taper just doesn't look good if I wear boots. My socks are shadow striped in navy and yellow, so they pick up the color of the jeans, but they contrast the brown Jodhpur boots. And to learn more about Jodhpurs, head over here.